for graphic and web design. Actually, Photoshop is not being built specifically for web design. It's for photo retouching. There are other programs such as Fireworks. They are better for that. But I will show you Photoshop because it's very flexible and it's maybe easy to learn. And with one program you can, if you learn this program, you can manage a lot of different graphic fields. For example, Photoshop was not built for making a poster, but if you want, you can do it and you can achieve good results. So, let's start. Okay, to learn Photoshop there are many ways. Tutorial, video tutorials, forums. There is on the Adobe website a section called Adobe TV that has many video lessons that actually are a course to teach you all the aspects of Photoshop, and then they are quite nice. Another way is to Google. You have a problem, you Google it. The best way to find out why sometimes things happen, because sometimes just you have no idea what these things that always work don't work. Someone probably will have found some problem and solve it, hopefully. So let's start and let's run our Photoshop. Do you all have Photoshop in your PC?
Photoshop.
No? Okay. You can find it on the server.
Yeah.
The same predictor.
They can install on the
Pardon?
They can install on the PC. So to go to the entire laptops, maybe should install the portable version on the USB key.
Okay.
Mais non, tu le copies juste et ça devrait fonctionner.
If you have a USB pen drive, I can give you the program. Okay. If you have pen drives, please bring them here so you can have a program.
Sorry, but it doesn't work, actually. I cannot open it.
And you can also install it on the desktop PC. The number 960, 960 and 800. I choose this because this is like a standard width for web design, for a web page, more or less 1024 monitor like this. Have this viewable area is more or less this size. And this, okay, can I go? Okay, if you don't have your Photoshop yet, just write down the numbers, then it's not difficult. Okay, so we have our workspace here. Now we want to create. This is the canvas, so it's like our page, the active area. If you want, we want to enlarge or make it smaller, we can use Ctrl-Alt-C. And here you can easily change dimension. For example, I'm designing a web page, and I design everything in here, but I need more space, so I want to add space underneath. I click this arrow. So I'm telling to the program, okay, I want you to add the extra pixel here. Because otherwise, if the situation is this one, they are just enlarging everything, keeping the center. So if you want to add something underneath, you click the upper arrow. You can also cut it and make it smaller as you want. Okay, now we keep this dimension. Another way to change your active area, your canvas, is to use this. This is the crop tool. You select an area. You see this part will be deleted and this one will be kept. So this one you can only select a smaller area with the first click, and then you can enlarge it. If you want to move two opposite sides of one selection or one area that you are transforming, press the Alt key. So when you drag, you see it's specular. And if you want to keep the portion, you keep the Shift key selected. Okay, but now we don't want to crop it, so we press S and just everything is cancelled. Okay, one important window is the level window here. How many of you have already used Photoshop? Okay, how many of you have never opened it? Okay. Okay, so this is the background that is locked. If you want to unlock it and create a normal level, you just double click. It's level 0. Okay, now you can work on it. It's not locked anymore. To add a new level, you go here and this new layer button. You just click it and it's a new layer. This is a raster layer. So it's not vectorial. You remember from yesterday's lesson. It means that I can take, for example, the pen tool or the brush tool and design something, draw something, but it's not vectorial. If you zoom, you will see pixel. If you enlarge it, it will be ruined. If you want to create vectorial shapes, you can use this tool, that is rectangular tool. If you want to have more options about this, you click right click and you have different shapes. So it's not like Illustrator that you have to hold, click and hold, but you would just have to right click. So I choose a rectangle, for example. But now I said that usually we use like 960 for web design, but the active area is traditionally 940. So we want to create like an active area. We have like little margins here. But how? We need to have 10 and 10 pixels. So Control R, and you will have these rulers. You maybe can have it in centimeters or something like that. You right click on it and you set on pixels. Okay, you see the 0 starts from the beginning of the canvas. So you zoom. For zooming is Control+. For zooming out is Ctrl minus, and then you press the space, and you see there is a hand. Now, if you left click and drag, you can move the page. Okay, so you zoom. Okay, I want a pixel here.
On est juste une barre pour avoir le niveau.
Plutôt CTRL A.
CTRL R.
Okay, and do the same here. To drag a guide, because guides are very, very useful because helps you to organize your object on the canvas, and to position it, you just click on the rulers and drag, and here you have your guide. It's useful because usually objects tend to stick to guides, so it's more easy to use them. So, for example, we create an object, a rectangular thing here. Yeah. Okay, you can do right click. Yes, right click. Oh, well. Okay, we set this color, I don't know, very light gray. If you want to change the color, you just double click this rectangle here in the layer window, and then you can choose. You just move here and you choose your color. Here is the HTML text color code. Here's the RGB, so red, green, and blue code. This is for hue, for moving among the different shades. This is the saturation, so you can change the saturation of the color and the brightness. So how light it is. Okay. You just double click. If you have any question, if you can do something, raise your hand and ask me. Okay.
I can fix the second margin.
Margin?
Yeah.
You just click on the rulers.
I fixed it. Yes.
Yeah, perfect.
This one, but
Okay.
I can on
Okay,
right
so
side.
you go to the right, you click on.
No?
Okay. To make vertical guides, you click here on these vertical rulers. You click and drag. Okay, and then you leave it, and it's done. If you want a horizontal guide, you click on the one on the top. If you want to delete one guide, you click this selection tool. Okay, no. I have no idea what this is. Ooh. Wonderful. Okay.
I have used the no, I don't know how does it name.
When you put control
Okay.
yes, actually I could.
That is
Okay.
cosa che c'è non seleziona una forma. Ok, grazie.
Okay. If you want to move one guy you have already created, you just click on the selection tool and you can move it. You see when you are near to it, there is the barrels have this shape and you can move it. If you want to delete it, you take it and you drag it again in the ruler and it will disappear. This is quite useful because in web design we use grids. Grids are columns that help to, for example, this is a grid, and they help you to align your content instead of have a mess. Yeah, it helps. Believe me. You decide, for example, this you have just some example of boxes for a rectangle. You don't have, you won't have one column object because it's too narrow. You will have it at least of 2 columns. There are a lot of different grids, so you can choose your own. You can find it online. And you can drag your guides, keeping this point. So one here at the beginning, one here, one here. So you can see very clearly how to organize your objects in a more okay. Okay, so it's not a mess. Okay. So, okay, so I create this is the active area. I double click on this color. This is the color, this is the shape. You see, it's white with some black areas. The black areas are the white area is the area that is being covered in the Word document, and the black one is the one that is not. Okay, whatever. I can also, for example, drag.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can I ask you why I don't have the colored area and the shape, but only one rectangle on the layer?
Oh, because we
It's
have
a
another
problem.
version.
Ah, okay.
Okay, but I think it's just you have maybe
Yes,
slightly
yes.
different. I think you just have it
Okay.
there.
Perfect.
Okay, for example, you can okay, never mind.
So we have like just a little bit problem with the server because yesterday and the day before we had the connection to the FTP server, which now is down, and we don't know why actually, because it's from the university. So we are trying to fix this problem, and as soon as we have fixed it, so today we had all the problems of this world. Believe me, it's hard. I think that in 2 hours you will have the files back. For now, it is the best way that in the, like in the break, in 5 minutes you come here with USB stick and you take the files from Julie.
Yeah, because I wanted to give you some files here. I want this was a grid because you can import it in Photoshop, so you can create your grid using using guides, but never mind. No problem. So, another thing you can do with shapes is to choose the fill here. The fill is how transparent the shape is. What's the difference between fill and opacity? Opacity works also on effects. For example, I can give shapes effect. For example, if I double click here, where there is not on these icons, not on the name, but on the empty space, double click, you will see the style, layer style box. Now you can choose to give a lot of different effects to your layer. For example, you can give it shadow, external shadow, internal shadow, but we will see them. But for example, if I give it a shadow and I set opacity 0, I won't see the color of my shape anymore, but I can see clearly the shadow. If I set opacity to 0, I won't see any of them. Okay, now what we do? You have unlocked the background. You have created this shape. You click, you select both of them, and then you click Ctrl G. You like group, and you create your group. This is very, very useful because when you work in web design, you will create hundreds of different layers, and if you don't group them, even with groups and subgroups and so on, it will be really a mess. So you have to rename it, because if you don't rename it, you have group number 10, group number 25. You won't understand what's inside. So now we will rename the group background. Okay, so we have a background here. Now, we can create a shape. Each website, yeah. You select the two layers or more, and you click Ctrl plus G, letter G, like group. Okay? Okay. Now, select the shape tool. Now you tell me, what are the elements of a website? What's in a website? You open a website, you can find what? From the top. What? Title. Right, the header, yes. And what's in the header usually?
The name of the association.
Yeah, is the name of the logo.
Yes.
And then?
The login
Yes.
area.
This is called the service menu. Usually it's like a login, sitemap, sometimes
Yes.
contact us, things like that. Usually it's at the very top of the page, near to the browser bar. And then the menu, the navigation menu usually. Okay. Underneath we have the body, so the content, so all the boxes, and then it highly depends on what you want to do, but it can be a slideshow or some photos, some text, but you have to carefully choose what to put on your homepage, because for sure it's the first thing that people see. So it has to bring people to the areas that are more important, and to actually make them see that these things are in the website and to make them very easily accessible. So even if a page is maybe not the first level, but it's a second level, but it's important, put it on the home page. Then it depends, highly depends on what you want to achieve and what you want to do. And then there is the footer, that is the bar on the bottom, usually for contacts. Yes, sometimes you can have like an explode menu or things like that. And even that is, it highly depends on you. You can find nice ideas of what to put just to write on Google. Footer inspiration. And you will see people have put almost everything in footers. For example, this is the EESTEC Trieste website, and you see this is the service menu, this is the header, logo, the menu, body, and footer here. Okay. So now we want to create a header. So let's create a rectangular, normal rectangular header. You select the shape tool and create a rectangle. You can both choose to make it within the active area or longer. Now it's like a web trend to have very long banners that does not end at some point, but just continue. So, for example, we have done this one that is between the active area, but we want to change it. We press Ctrl plus T, that is transform, and you see, now you can transform it. You click the Alt key and drag, and you have a longer one. You click Enter to save this shape. Okay. Now we want to write the title of the page, so you select the text tool here, and you write, okay, you see the text tool. If I bring it here, it's just normal text tool. If it's near to a shape, near the border of a shape, you see it's the same text on path that was on Illustrator. So if I click here, I will write on the border. Instead, if I click inside, it has this round circle around it, and it's for writing in that shape. Actually, it's not very comfortable, it's not very useful. So usually I write something outside, and then I drag it here. And for sure I have to change its color. So what do I do? Here you have your character window. If you don't have it, you go to Window and then Character. That is here. So you click it, and now you can edit the color. For example, I decided to have it white. I can, you see, when the color box is selected, I have an eyedropper, so I can take the color I want from the background. For the image I see. So okay, I select white, whatever. I can also choose one font. Okay. Fonts are very important because, especially now, web design is highly rely on typography. So you have to make sure it's a web-safe font, a web font, because some other font won't be can be seen by cross-browser, or they will be distorted. But you find font that usually works quite well on different browsers and different systems, operating systems. Usually you use no more than 3 fonts. It depends. Usually you have a font that is really characteristics and particular for headers or especially for titles. Then a very simple one, a web-safe font like Verdana, Arial, or Trebuchet, in order to have it very easily to read, and you are sure that everyone will see it without distortions. Okay, so choose whatever font you want from the one you have. And you can also change how big it is. Okay, not like this. Okay, now we want to add like a kind of logo, so whatever. I don't know how to problem. Okay. Now yes, for example, I want to create a kind of logo. So I go here to rectangle tool, I press, and I go to custom shape. Here I can choose among a lot of shapes. If you want more, you can just click here and add other, because you see all. Okay, I click this, so you see a lot of shapes. You won't use it for logos for sure, because they are horrible and not very. Yeah.
If I write,
Okay, because it's the same color, so you just select it and change color. Oppure sei sotto. Okay. Okay, now you select one shape and create a shape. In Photoshop, the layers works that what is on top is visible. Yeah.
Where?
Okay, you just go here, like where the rectangle is, and you go to custom shape. And then here in the option toolbar, you can choose one shape. Okay. Now you can change its color and drag it. Okay. Now we have created a banner, header, sorry, kind of, more or less. So we group the three elements together. So we select them, we Ctrl G, and we call it header. So everything is in this group, and it's easier to manage.
sorry, the shape and the text layer.
Yeah.
Right. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And the bar as well. So you see what the bar?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Now we can apply some effects. For example, we don't want the text and the shape to be so simple, so we can add some effect. double click on the free space here, and you will have the layer style. And we can make it look like it's being cut. So you can zoom. When you have a window open like this, you can click Ctrl plus space, and then Ctrl. Okay, just Ctrl click works. Okay, so you can see it zooming. And for example, I want to make it look like it's being cut. So like the bar is a piece of paper and I can see above, underneath. So I create an inner shadow. I set it the degree to 90%, so it's like it's coming from directly from the north. And then I set everything to 1. So the distance, the dimension, and you see there is a very light shadow inside. So now, especially if I change the color, this one, the background one, it looks like it's being cut. If I want to apply the same style to something else, for example the logo, I just right click here on the level, I click copy layer style, then I click on the shape level, I right click again, and I click okay, paste layer style. So you see now it's the same. You also can change the color, so it's the same that the background. Okay, now we want to add a menu, so we write here whatever about me. With a Ctrl plus A, you select all the text. Okay, so I change dimension. About me. Portfolio. Okay. Okay, with this I can align it as I want. But let's say that I don't like this big bar here, so I want to make it handy here. I can both just click on the blue shape and modify it, or I can create a mask. So I click on the selection tool, I select click here with the bar selected, and then I click here that is add a layer mask, and now you see the bar disappear. Is there? If you want, you can have it again, just deleting. For example, no, I don't like it. I can right click on the mask and delete it. Or Ctrl Z to go one back, Alt Ctrl Z to go more than one back. Because if you do Ctrl Z and then Ctrl Z again, you just have like previous previous used parent. Okay, and you can also move only the mask. To unlock it, you see these there are like chains. You click on them, you make it disappear. So now only the mask is selected, and I can. Okay. If you want to select only this, you see there is like a white stroke here, and this means that only the mask is selected. If all the two of these are selected, you will move both of them. So only this is selected, and now I can Ctrl T move the mask. You see it disappear or here. And you can also move just the shape. Okay. But now I cannot see the menu anymore, so I have to change it color. So I click on character and I change its color. Okay. Okay, now we want to create a text box like welcome, visitor, whatever. I can both write text, clicking and writing, whatever. But the problem of this is that if I want to stay in the shape or to have only a certain okay, with this option you don't have a lot of control of your text. If you want to, it's okay only if you write like one word, 2 words, no more. If you want a text box, then you click, drag, and drop, and so you have a text area. In this area, whatever you write, if I write, it will keep this shape, it's like writing area, and in this within this area I can also apply paragraph styles. For example, alignment, or these are the borders. For example, I don't want the text to start exactly on the border, but I want some space, 10 pixels space. So I just write 10 here, and you see there is some padding here. Then I want that here is a new paragraph. I want the new paragraph to be more separated. So I add, for example, 10 pixels here, and you see there is more spacing. Okay. Or you can also justify the text, but usually it's not a very good idea to justify text because it makes it not very readable. So, okay, we have our text. When you create a website, you don't know what text you use. So we use usually lorem ipsum, that is, this one. That is just a random text that have a matrix that is, it looks like real text. You see, I've seen I wrote just random letters, and they just don't feel like a real text. This is used to fill text area you don't know what to put in. So you can find this lorem ipsum and throw it in your text. If you don't know already what to write, or you want to concentrate on design before starting actually to think about the text. For example, here you see it's not very nice to have the text ending exactly on the border. So I'm adding a padding here. I add 10 pixels, so it looks better. Okay. Actually, I wanted to show all of this to you using a grid, but we don't have it because usually you will have something like, yes, a kind of grid like this, and it will be easier to align, so the text has to stay within this width. So, for example, with this text would be 3 columns and things like that. Anyway, yes, if you select something with a selection tool and you want to remove the section, I mean, you don't want it anymore, you click the Ctrl plus D. Okay. Now, if you want, we can have a pause. If you need, if you want me to pass you some material, come here with your pen drive, so I can give it to you. Okay. Pause. If you don't have it, I have it, so okay, we can manage. I intended to say that. Okay, so one thing that is very important creating a website is to choose colors, because to make it easy to read and to make it the website accessible even to people that have, for example, color blindness. One of the tools that I've given to you in the pen drive or by email is a tool that is a color contrast analyzer. This will tell you how readable your combination of color is, especially for the text. You will see, for example, if I use 2 colors that don't have a very high difference in lightness, mostly, it won't be readable. So try to choose a color palette with not too many colors, and choose. You use especially for elements that have text inside, both colors that make it readable. For example, a dark blue with white or very light gray, or you can use here a white or very pale pink, but then you have to use black or a very strong violet, because otherwise the text won't be readable. Another thing that is very important is to choose the font. The font, even if you use it for titles, has to be readable without too many hyperlinks. So even if you can choose for titles a strange, particular, peculiar looking font, remember that has to be readable. So not too complicated, it has to be understandable at the first glance. Okay. Another thing, remember to group your layers. One, the most important window of all is this one, the level. The layers, sorry. So you can also close other windows, because it's and group layers. Guys, I'm telling you, if you work with many layers, it's a mess. If you don't group layers and if you don't name layers correctly. For example, here is just one error. This lorem this text is not in the header. It's not the header. So I have to put it here, outside this group. To understand easily if something is in the group, you can click on this eye here that make you see or disappear what's in the group or in the single layer. So, for example, if I want to take away this layer, text layer for the header, I click on it, I drag it outside until you see there is a black, dark blue line here, and now it's outside. So now the text, if I check what's in the header, the text is not in the header anymore. This is in the body of the page, so I can also create, even with one single layer, I can create a group called body. And then, especially from the body, I can create many folders, subgroups. For example, if I will put a slideshow. This slideshow will have many elements. One photo, some text, the arrows, some dots. So I have to group everything together. The two arrows that will be here to change the image, you will group it again together, so you can find it easily if you want to change something. Okay, so now we want maybe to add an image here for our slideshow. So I can. You can add an image. You can just take one of your images in your computer, whatever. You know, the default of. Okay.
Maybe how can I do this and move here?
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So I have an image here.
Here?
If I want to.
Okay, thank
change its
if you
shape.
select
If I want to
it,
make
you
it
can
bigger,
move it
okay, this is a small image, so it's a raster, it's not vectorial, so if I enlarge it, it will be pixelate, so it won't be so nice, but for the purpose of the lesson we can do it. If you to change for resize it, I click Ctrl plus T. So in this version of Photoshop, I don't know why, but when I click on one element, it immediately gives me this transform tool, so I can resize it. But here I can also distort it. If I want to keep proportion, I keep the Shift key down. Okay, and I click Enter to say that transform. I can transform it in other ways. I can if you right click on the image. Now, if I do Ctrl T and then I click on the image, you see there are some options here. For example, to scale it, to rotate it, to give it perspective, to distort, to rotate it to some fixed points, or to, for example, flip it. Okay. Do you have any question?
Yes, I didn't see how do you open the image in the document.
Okay, you can or drag and drop.
Okay.
But
sometimes it's big.
It's too big, yes.
Can I open it directly in my document?
Yes. How? But you click File.
Okay. Place it because you create a smart object. So if you resize it, you don't lose any information by the picture.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, because this is like, yeah, a smart, this icon here, it's a smart object. Just 1 second, I'll put it here. A smart object means that I'm not working with the originals, but I'm working with like a kind of copy. So I can do whatever I want with this image. I can distort it, I can change its color, I can do a lot of things, but if I have still the original and I don't lose quality. So if I make it very small and then enlarge it, the source will be the same, remain the same. So I'm not going to see pixels. Maybe a big photo, if in normal way I reset it a lot and then stretch again, it will be ruined. If you double click on this, okay, you see the original here. Okay, your question, Jennifer?
But you have to select it. No, it is open. Okay, select the image.
Okay.
And now you see. No.
Another window that is quite useful is
if you
history
want to change the
window that is
size
here.
without change the proportion.
This image is the file when you open it. So in this case, it was blank, so it's blank. Otherwise, if it's a file you have already saved and worked on, you will see like a small image of your previous work. And here you see everything you have done. So, last things I've done is, okay, I don't know why I don't see it, but this probably move. This is a free transformation. You see, if I click, I go backwards, back and back. If I want to do it again, I click and I back again to the last things I've done. But remember, if you go back and then you do something else, you lose your past actions. Okay, and then you can also do one thing that is useful. If you want to change something, now you have to create a layout, but now you want to change it. You can take a snapshot here. You know, you see there is like a camera. If you click here, okay, you see that now there is this one that it was the document when we open it. And here is my snapshot. So if now I want to change all the colors, okay, I want to change the combination of colors, but I want to have the situation of now without losing it, I can take snapshot. But remember that the snapshot will be deleted when you close the file. So you can work with it. But if you then click Save and you close the document, next time you open it, you don't have it anymore. So be careful with that. Yeah?
Because the camera in the background, that happens here.
Okay, if you have more than one document open in Photoshop, usually you have a tab here, like this one, so you can navigate. If you don't have it, you can use Ctrl plus the tab, so the two arrows in the opposite direction, to move across different documents. So she didn't have these tabs, but she can move across documents with this key. Okay. Okay, this is a snapshot. So now we want to try to do something different. For example, we want to change the color of the background. We don't like that it's boxed like this between these two guides. Okay, Control Tab, that is the two arrows, above the dot key. Okay, welcome. Okay, so we want to delete to change the background because it is, especially now, you don't use a lot of boxed backgrounds. So, okay, we decide to delete these levels, or we can also, if you want to all the page have this color, we can just delete this mask, and it's just a level full of color. You don't have any more shapes, it's just color. And you cannot move it because it's color, there is no shapes here. Okay, but so maybe we do it a little bit lighter because it's too dark. Okay. Then, I don't know, we want to apply a pattern to the background, so it's not so plain. So what we can do, we can double click on the white space here, because if you click here, you will change the name of the layer. So we can give it a name even to the single layers, and this too is very, very useful, because when you have hundreds of layers with maybe more or less the same colors, because your palette won't have a million colors, it's very useful to rename. So, okay, I call it background 2. Okay, but I click here and I have layer style. Now I Control plus, I zoom, I Control click in this case, I zoom a lot so I see the background with a big zoom, and I want to give it a pattern. Okay, the default one is awful, just like bubbles, but you can append other. For example, here you can find a default set of patterns. So you click on one and you click on append, so you will have more pattern to use. They are even nicer. For the background, it's good if you use a very light pattern. You don't have to be too strong. One, because it won't make the text readable, and because it will make the page too heavy to look. So
With the mouse
usually we
here,
set the
you get to
opacity
select
quite
and then
not very high, but quite low. You can also decide the scale. So in this case we have like grace pattern. So you can choose to have it very small or very big, as you want. Okay. If you click OK and then you zoom out, you will see that your background is not plain anymore, but you have a very light pattern. And this is even nice to make our website not too plain, because sometimes, especially if you don't have a lot of experience, if you don't have yet the greatest idea, but if you work with patterns, you can give a nice look to your layout, your design, and you make it like less banal somehow. Then if you want, for example, this you remember are like they have been cut out, so they have to be of the same color and with the same pattern on this. So I can right click on the first. I remove the effect from the background because I need the color of the background in order to give the same color to the name and the shape. Okay, so shape, I double click on color, on the rectangle of color, and I pick the color, you see it's lighter. Then I click on the title, the name. I click on character and I pick the color, so we have the same color. Now we enable effect. Yes, for enable or disable effect without removing, they have, you see, an eye, like the level. So I want to see the effect, I don't want to see the effect. If I have more than one effect, I can also remove it individually. One problem, the title of the website and the logo have one effect more. So if I right click, copy layer style, right click, paste layer style, I will lose the inner shadow effect. And then here you can decide, you can say, okay, maybe one of the two effects is more complicated, it has more settings to set, so okay, I will keep and paste that one, and I will manually recreate the other. So maybe I don't want to find again the same pattern among all the patterns, I don't want to set again the exactly same opacity, so okay, I just paste the layer style, and then I double click on, for example, okay, wrong, it's not on this, okay, so I made it wrong, I applied the pattern on the menu, I didn't want to, so since I'm not going to use it again, I don't want just to not making it visible, even because it complicates the layer window to have a lot of these things. So I right click on this and I set clear layer style. So if the layer style is being deleted. Now I double click here on the logo and I again set inner shadow. So okay, 90 degree, 1, 1, 1, or you can decide. Let's say that this is a very light shadow, is not very visible, but it doesn't matter. It don't have to be like a punch in the eyes in order to have an effect on your layout. But also often very small effects are more elegant and more professional looking. Okay, so now I given this shadow to the logo. Okay, I right click, copy. Since the title has the same style, I just right click and paste. Okay. Then maybe you want to change the color of your bar. So change the color of the bar as you want. Remember to keep a good contrast between the foreground, so the writing, and the background, so the bar, so it's readable. Okay, maybe you can also change the font if you want. Okay, the problem of this font, you see, is that it's too light. It is not very visible. You cannot read it, even if it's big. So try to find a font that it is readable. Anyway, now choose whatever you want. Okay, now let's take another snapshot again. This little camera here, and you see, if we go here, we can see how it was then and how it is now. So you can easily compare different versions. But remember, if you want to have this version for the future, you have to save it. This is just yes for to read the version. Okay, so now let's say that we want to make a slideshow. So maybe I add some text here. For example, you see now this text now is too big, it's too large. I want to reduce it, but if I click on this and click, do control click, and I change it, you see the text has been distorted. So don't use it for text. If I want to change this area, I click on the text tool, and you see you can see the box. If the box is too short, there is a little plus here. That means that not all the text you have written is shown. So if you see this kind of plus in a square, you have to make this longer. So I want it a little bit narrower, so I just do this, and you see the text is not distorted, but for sure I need more space. Yeah. Okay, if you use Control-click for the text will be distorted, so don't use it.
Control-T.
Control-T, don't use it for the text. So if you want to change the box, for example, the width of the box, click on the text tool, and you will have a dot square for the box. And here it works very similar to the transformation tool, so you can move the text box. Yes, and if you see a little plus here, it means that the square is too little. Okay. So, for example, now we have, we want to do a slideshow to maybe 1. I'm wrong too because I'm working with the header. So even, okay. So I create, okay, there is the body, so I put everything in the body, both the image, the text, and the lorem ipsum, but now I want to create a slideshow, so I create another group inside the body called slideshow. So I take the image and the title, Ctrl G, group, name, slideshow. Okay. Okay. Now, open. You can expand or reduce your groups by clicking to the arrow. You see, if you click like this, you see only the group, not what is contained in the group. If you click the arrow, it expands. You can see what's inside. It works at every level. So now we are in the slideshow, and we create a white box. Here you see these colors. There are colors that are used. For example, if you have, this color will be used for shapes. So if you want to not to change every kind color, you set the color here. This is a foreground color, this is background colors. For example, now I want, and I can flip it just to clicking on this arrow here. Okay, white, I have white, now I click here and I select a rectangle. I create a rectangle. I leave some margin. You see that if I will have a dry grid, I would have margin already defined. If you don't want to see the guides anymore because they are annoying, you click Ctrl H. Ctrl H, you don't see the guides. Ctrl H, you have it again. So now maybe I don't want the guides. I hide it. Ctrl H. Then here you see the text is under this shape, so I can see it. I bring it forward, so it now is visible. If I drag something inside one group, it will be automatically go at the end. So if I take this box away from the slideshow group, and then I just select, you see there is a box around the slideshow level. Now it's been selected. The thing that you have put inside is at the lowest level here. Okay, so now we want to create a slideshow, so we have to add arrows. So again, rectangle, personal shape, and you can find some arrows. Choose one arrow. Okay, draw an arrow here, click, hold shift to don't distort it, okay. Now arrow is white, I want it in the same shade as the rest, so I click, okay, so I move it here, and take this color, then I duplicate the layer. How to duplicate one layer? You click Ctrl Q J, like John, Ctrl J, and you have, you see, a layer, identical layer in the same place. So now I click Ctrl T for transform it, then I click, right click on it, reflect horizontally. So now if I move it, you see, it's being flipped. So Ctrl J, like John, to duplicate, to make a perfect copy of one layer, whatever, every layer. And then if you want, for example, have the same layer, specular, you click Ctrl T, and then right click. You have a lot of options, and you can rotate or reflect, so flip the image. So now I will move, but since I want the two arrows to be on the same line, I won't move just dragging it, but I will use the arrow keys. Just use your arrow keys and you will move it. If you want move to 10 pixels per time, that is faster, hold down the shift key. So now as you see I'm faster. This is 1 pixel, this is 10 pixel, okay. Now we create a group with the two arrows, Ctrl G, you have a group, and I name it arrow. Okay, and I bring it in the front because otherwise you see the second arrow is hidden by the photo. If I want, I can give some effect. For example, I don't see very well this arrow, so I can give it an effect. I double click here on white space, layer style. I select stroke, so I have a stroke. I want a white stroke, so I pick or I select here one color, for example white. White is F, all F, 6F. So this is pure white. Okay, and here I can choose of how many pixels I want the arrow to be. 3 pixel, 2 pixel, 1 pixel, 10 pixel, as you want. Let's say 2 pixel. And you can choose to position it inside, outside, or in the middle, respect the shape. So external means that yes, the stroke has been added outside the shape. And I can also work on opacity. So maybe I want yes a whiter, a lighter color, but I don't want pure color. I want it to blend a bit with somewhat it's underneath. So I can change it. So it's a little bit transparent now. Now you choose, and then you click OK. So okay, now you have some stroke, and you can move both of the arrows without selecting both of them, just to clicking with the group. So now you can move. If you click the group, you can move a whole group. Okay. And another way of moving is without control click, is to click this, that is the move tool. And even if I don't click control click, control T, it works anyway. Okay. So now, I want to add, you know, the classical dots that shows me that I have in the slideshow 5 images, and I am seeing the second one. So now zoom here. Okay, no, I don't want it. Okay, yes. And zoom here. Mirror white. You see here that the white rectangle and the photo are not aligned because there is a little gap here, and in design it's important to be precise so we can select the white. You see selected because it has a little stroke. So we can click Control click and drag a bit so it aligns perfectly to the photo and we don't have any gap. Okay, so now we want to add these little dots. We can go here, we go to the elliptic tool, and then as for Illustrator, you hold down the Shift key in order to have a perfect round circle. Okay. Now we are going to take the background color. Okay, so because otherwise it won't be visible. And we will again do it as if it is a little bit hollow. Is this a little bit hollow? So we again go to Light Style, Inner Shadow, and we again set how big we want this shadow. It means that Photoshop will be used these settings of light. This is like the light is coming from the top. So I can change the angle of this light. And this means that I'm using the default for this document. If I want to have other kind of lighting, because if I change this, I use this light even for the title in the body, in the header, you remember. If I do this, I'm changing also the shadow for the text and the elements in the header. So if I want to change it, and it is good because I actually give it the sense in the whole document that the light is coming from one point. But if I want to change just in one place, I have to unclick this. So he knows that this setting is just for this layer. So I put it again in 90. Okay. Okay. Now I create another group called dots. Okay, with side, and then I can zoom out. Okay, the dot is too big, so I want to resize it. I click Ctrl T, and one nice thing is that I can choose the percentage of oversizing. If I click, for example, I set it to 50%, but you see, this is working only for the width, not for the height. If I want to keep a proportion, I have to click this chain here. So, you see now it's little, maybe it's too small. I click Ctrl T again and I try another. I keep proportion. Okay, it can do. Now I duplicate the layer. So Ctrl J and Ctrl T. I move it. Ctrl J, Ctrl T. I move it again, holding Shift, so I move faster, Ctrl J, and so on. Ctrl T, and I do 5 of these. Okay. Boys going? Okay. Now, 15 minutes pause. If you have any doubt, if you was able to catch the pace, don't worry, you can ask me now, okay? So 15 minutes pause now.
For me, like the Ctrl G and T doesn't work.
Okay. Okay, so because you have the Ctrl C selected, so to do Ctrl J, you have to end it with Enter. Okay. So now you can do Ctrl J. Oh, this is an arrow.
Yeah, because I try to. Because actually it's strange because if I click here, I can see the arrow. See? Yeah. And here it's the same.
Because you can see it. Okay, why? So because one of these has to be selected, because I'm sure one of these is this picture, so choose one and change the color to, for example, violet. Try to keep your color palette not too complicated. So try to use the same color and not to use too many different shades. I mean, you can use different shades, but for different elements. If you decide that the banner, the arrows has to be dark violet, they have to be the same value of violet, not every time with the picker, this one, just taking one at guess, because it's very unprofessional. So it's better if you use always the same color. Then you can choose to have different shades, dark violet, medium violet, light violet, but you have to decide when to use it, and you, for each of them, use the exact color code that you can easily find here. This code tell you exactly which color is this one. Okay, so we have done this. Maybe this one we don't want to be hollow, we want to pop up a bit because it's different from the other, so we can decide to set the inner shadow. Okay, we uncheck this and we go to this minus 90. So you can see now, if you zoom, that the light is coming from here, and these ones are like a little hole, so they have inner shadow on the top. This one is going up a bit, so its shadows is down here. Okay. Then let's go to the background again. And now maybe we want to add a shape, a path to the background. So we're going to use the pen tool. It's like Illustrator. You have a pen tool. You can create shapes. If you click and hold and drag, you can manage the smooth contours, and then you do like this, and you just you see there is a little circle near the pen. This means that the path is closed. Now you see, you won't see anything because you have to go to the path or tracciati tools here. This is a path that exists but is not filled with anything. So now you go to layers, you click here. This button will give you some options, for example, to create a layer all of the same color, or with a gradient, or with a pattern, or other options. You select new fill layer, and you choose a color. For example, I pick the violet, and then I modify the fill since I want it to be very light. Okay? In this case, because I have the path active, the fill layer was not on the entire page, but was only inside my closed path. So now I have this kind of shade on the background. Okay, it's not that nice, but it was just for showing you the pen tool. Yeah.
I make the path.
Yeah.
And then?
Okay, you click here. You see the circle with black and white circle.
Okay.
You click it. At the very top, there is new fill layer or fill color. Yeah, new fill color or tinta unita. Depends on your language. Okay.
And then I choose
And then you choose one color. Usually, yes, tend to stick to your palette. So if you have used one color in the header, select this one, and then you can choose to slightly change it, or you can just have a full color like this, but to change the film. So it's a little bit transparent. What's the problem? Okay. Path, select path, and okay, you see now it's working. So now this one, yep. Okay, because you have to. Okay, if this layer is covering everything, you have to take it and drag it in the background folder, the background group. Because if someone is above the rest, it means that in the layer Windows is above. So you have to bring it here. And for sure this has to be above the background, normal background color, otherwise you won't see it. Okay, and remember, name the folders and name the layers. So for example, this I will name it color for background. Whatever. Just remember that
everything
when you work, it's very important to be very tidy with your layer window.
Okay.
Otherwise,
So,
in
new layer.
half an hour,
Go to
you won't
background.
understand
Here.
nothing. And it's very important to work with Photoshop to organize everything.
Now,
Name everything.
to
And to make a lot of
and you
groups.
draw
Don't worry
that you like.
if you made a lot of groups.
Okay.
It's perfect. It's okay. Don't
not so.
be afraid to overdo. Just be aware
You
that
don't have to work on the same anchor
old
point.
version
You
of
have to
Photoshop
create
does
another
not
one.
support too
Okay,
many
and then
nested groups.
another
So this is the
until you
limit.
have
But
the
as
form
far
that
as
you like.
Photoshop allows
so
you
now
to do
it's
it
Okay, now you
net,
do 2 times
net,
to the. Okay, now it's closed.
for each other.
Go here.
Okay, now
Tinta Unita, and then you choose the
now
color that you
let's go back to the slides, and I will talk to you of web trends, so modern trends. I've seen that many of you have done nice works. I've seen that people didn't follow strictly what I've done. It's perfect. And for sure, I'm doing a very simple layout, but just to give you the basis. Okay, so web trends, because you don't want your website to look like a 90s website or even a 2003 website. So, one, Google. Don't be afraid. Search on Google. Web design inspiration, web design trends. You will find a lot of ideas. This doesn't mean copy. You don't have to copy. You have to take inspiration. Doesn't mean that you don't have to take a screenshot of a website and to do exactly the same. But to say, okay, this website is beautiful. Okay, let's find why it's beautiful. Let's find the elements that make it beautiful. Or, okay, this website is horrible, but this idea is very nice. The way they put, yes, the arrow for the slideshow, or they created a menu with some icons, or they use a special effect. You say, wow, it's nice. Maybe the rest of the website is horrible, but this is nice. Take from the website, you see, small ideas. And don't be afraid, because in web design you have to take inspiration from others, and especially at the beginning it's very important to see how other people work. So yes, Google. Web is design inspiration. You will find a lot of things. Then design website, for example, Smashing Magazine, but there are a lot of websites. You can find many articles or web trends, but also elements or is useful both for designers and for developers, especially with CSS and things like that. And yes, the web designer page, because web designers usually tend to have very nice and stylish websites. Don't overdo, because in especially website trends sometimes are a little bit extreme. So if you are doing a website for a company, you cannot do it like you're going to design a website for a fashion brand, for sure. So even here takes ideas, not and not overdo. So sometimes you see a wonderful website that I want so much to do something like this, but I'm working with a university. So yes, be innovative. Don't copy and don't do the same boring university page, but keep in mind that you have not to be too bold. And overall, remember to ask your client, or yes, if you're a designer for a group of friends or whatever, but ask them, are you okay if I do this? It's okay if I try to do something more stylish. It's okay if your website does not look traditional, because the client is always right. So you can try to explain them why you don't want to do like a very boring 202 style website. But remember that they are the ones that have to decide, because it is their brand, and their face that go to the website. Okay, so then here there are some web trends of 2012. Just some ideas. You don't have to put all of them in your design. It's just some ideas. Maybe you can take one, two, try to combine it. Anyway, if you give me your email, I will send you the slides, so you don't have to write to keep up. Okay, so first one is simplicity. So don't use too many fonts. Don't use too many colors. Don't put, especially in the home page, too many stuff, because you want everything to be there. Very simple website. For example, this one, white, black, some red, some squares. Simple. It's very, very simple. You can like it or not. Designers have a lot about personal taste. But just I found it as an example of simplicity on the web. Or this one too. It's very light, it's very clean, it's very three-color. You see black, very soft gray, and yellow. Okay, what's wrong with this website? An idea? There is one problem here.
You can't read the very red color. So.
Yeah, the color. The color contrast is not good. So here, maybe you have to choose one color that is readable. You can use yellow for things like this because you don't care. But if you want to use it for text, use for example, on a very light background, use a dark color. Or I will send you to by email, or someone of you has already have with a pen drive, a program that is called Color Contrast Analyzer. that is mainly for checking color for color-blind people, but it can be useful anyway to have an idea of how readable the website is. So you pick the foreground color, so it's good especially for text. The foreground color, the background color, and it says to you, you see there is like green check or a red cross. There are two levels, AAA and AA, that are like two different standards. It is both for small and big text, large text, but you will see who you will use. Okay, and it doesn't have to be white. This is another very simple. It's very simple. You can see it because the projector quality is not very good. But it is the menu. This couple of words. This website to go there is very, very plain, but it is very nice. I like it a lot. And it's very colorful. It changes also color every page. It's nice. Two, typography. To find a very particular font or typeface for your website, it's very good. It gives character to your website. So, if for the text box you write, it's better to use a simple font, very readable, very cross-brown like Arial or Verdana, Lucida, Samsung Code or whatever. For the titles, you can be bold and try some particular text. Remember that they have to be readable, but even if, since they are quite big, you can try to find maybe even strange kind of fonts, and just try. In the last slide, I think I will give to you. There is a link that is very nice. That it's a website that allows you to see all the fonts you have installed in your PC. So you want to find, for example, you have a I don't know, the title or header or something like my website. I want to find a very nice font for my website. You write it there, and it gives you. Okay, I will show you. Maybe it's better. This one. Anyway, it's nice to try because maybe you download a lot of fonts over the time, especially if you are interested in typography. Sometimes you find nice fonts and then you have tons of fonts and you can choose it. And it's a very nice tool. Okay, we can do it. Okay. Okay. So here, okay, so okay. I choose one word or whatever my website. Love fonts. Okay, when it will work, you will see this works. Here I have the name of the font and how these words are working with different fonts. It's very nice. Very
Can you repeat
I will give you the slide. On the slide, you have the link.
Wordmark.
Wordmark. Yes.
Wordmark.
Wordmark.
Wordmark.it.
Yes.
Wordmark.
Okay. Wordmark. Okay. Let's go back. Okay, so typography. Yes, so then it's working with fonts is not very easy, but you can achieve very good results because if you find the right font, the same layout can have a completely different effect. If you use all Arial for all over your website, it will look down. If you use maybe a particular font, it can be very nice with the same layout. Then lots of open space. You've seen, for example, the blue one that I showed you before. So no boxes. Everything is very. You don't have boxes. Everything is very wide. If you have a very big monitor, you don't see lines and boxes. Then yes, if you go, for example, to this website, you will see better what I mean. And then yes, textures. You see for patterns. Use patterns, very light patterns, not too heavy, because if they are too strong, they don't look very nice. But if you use light patterns, you can achieve very good effects. And also the zigzag. Yeah, this kind of zigzag things are trendy now. And then yes, like we have done a bit, is to do a letterpress effect. So like something is being pressed. We have done it like it's been cut off. But one thing that is very nice if you do it is like on a light background, you write something, you set a color, you pick this color and you get it darker, a bit darker, and then you set 1 pixel inner shadow from 90 degrees and 1 pixel white shadow from above with the light source of -90, and you achieve this kind of letterpress effect that is quite nice. And then yes, ribbon and stitching. So this kind of things. Then you can like it, you don't like it. If you don't like it, don't use it. If you use it, don't use it too much. This stitching means things that looks a little bit 3D. For example, you see there are some shadows. This looks like a real piece of leather or paper or whatever with its shadows. There's like some patterns and even metallic patterns like yes, you can find something that looks like paper, looks like leather. You can find it online. Then circle elements for logos, for even banner, for even titles. You can read a title with something, the title written inside, or you can start inside and go out, and then it's your sentences.
Sorry?
Yep.
How do you do that effect of mercy? Is this a mask?
Mercy?
You don't know it?
No, yes, I know, but
difficult.
Yes, a bit.
Okay.
Okay. I cannot now explain.
It's not a problem.
If I can, I will explain it to you. Okay. For example, this is website full of circles everywhere. You see, even the menu, you don't have. Another nice thing is to have the menu without the usual letters, but to have user icons. So home information, who I am probably, and then what I think is, but you have to talk with people that will develop a website. It can be that if you hover with mouse, so if you go here with mouse, this can change appearance, or you can have like it can expand and show like home, so you know for sure what it's about. Especially like this, maybe you can have some doubt. Okay, soft colors. Yes, a lot of people use not very vivid colors, like a little bit dulls, like I don't know if you can see, but it's not like a bright red, it's a desaturated red, it's not very saturated. Yeah, color like this, but you will see maybe better in the PowerPoint slide. Yes, this one is very, you see, they don't have strong colors, and yes, they have ribbons, they have stitching, and it's open, you see here, it continues. If you have a big monitor, it continues, it doesn't stop, and it has a lot of air. Yeah, and then, is it 12? Okay. Okay. Last things, that I just tell you because you will see it better on actually navigating the internet. This one is responsive design, but it's more up to the developers. That means that you will have to create different layout for different devices. So changing the screen resolution, their size. So for example, if you are on a mobile phone that is very small, you don't keep the same design as usual, but you make it everything vertical. So it's easier to use for someone from a smartphone instead of zooming in. You see sometimes on mobile layouts are not very good, and this is a way to control it, because with liquid layouts, like elements go whatever they want, they just expand. Instead, with the responsive design, you create usually 3 different layouts: one for like normal screen, desktop, one for tablets, one for 2 for mobile phones, with landscape or portrait. And then it's scrolling. Many websites now have a very long homepage. Sometimes you don't have an inner page, just one big homepage. I'm just telling you, then it's not traditional. So if you want to stay safe, if you don't have, if you have a lot of content, it's better to have like a traditional website with pages. But if you are able to sum everything in a few few phrases, few photos, few elements, it can be nice even to have just one page. And this is just some website I found. Just many people, many websites use very large photos. And if you have beautiful large photos, it can be a very good option. But you have to have a very good photo and a very big, very high quality photo, because otherwise it will be a mess. But it can be nice. So this is also a WebZ a bit. This is nice because if you scroll it, the photo stays still and no, the photos follow and this go up. Okay. This is okay. Let's go back to Photoshop. Okay. Now, if you want, you can play a bit with your website. Maybe following the web trends. So maybe we can add a circle to the banner. Why not? So I go to the header here. When you create a shape, it always go one level up the level you selected. So if you want to position it like over the banner, you click the banner and then you create the shape. Then okay, shift, no. Okay, and then you see it kept the last setting for filling, so I have to fill it. Okay, but I don't want it white, I want it this color. Okay, okay, but this way I have to move all the body down, for example. Okay, it can be okay because it is good to have open space, but remember do not leave too much too much space because it has to be balanced, not too wide. So we have already used some texture for the background. And now you have half an hour, you can play, you can try, you can, if you want, take a snapshot so you know how is your layout now, and then play, try, have fun. And if you want, you just raise your hand and call me and I will come and answer your question, okay? Yeah, and try to be innovative. Don't follow this. It's a horrible layout. So use your fantasy.